Hey guys, so I got my motors inside finally. They've just been sitting outside under a tarp for a while. This one's been out there for over a year, just sitting outside under a tarp. And this is the 400 that we pulled out of the El Camino in Texas. So this one I'm going to leave alone right now. But this one is not liking the engine stand that it's sitting on. The bars are bending. There's a lot of weight right here on the front of the motor, so I need to take a lot of this weight off before it gets worse and maybe even falls. Most of this stuff is all bolted to the water pump, so I'm just going to pull the water pump off, which is going to make it piss on the floor. But I've got a towel down there, so it should be alright. But yeah, so that's the game plan. And I'm just going to leave it all in one piece, that way when I'm ready to put the motor back together, I can just put it all back together. So. Alright guys, alternator brackets bolted to the block right there. Obviously we got our two water pump bolts over here. This is the alternator bolt that's connected to the block there. And then we got our two water pump bolts right here. One's back there and one's right here. So, and then that whole assembly should just come off. The only thing that'll be left is crank pulley. So, alright, I'm gonna zip all this off. The bracket for the lower part of this alternator has to come off because it's connected to the water pump and it's in front of the bolts. So. Okay. Alright, there's one bolt left holding this whole thing together, and this is it right here. Alright, now the only thing holding this together is gasket material, and like I said, it's probably going to leak. It's going to leak fluid when I pull it out, and hopefully it's not a lot. I don't think there's much in there anyway. Oh yeah. Alright, so there's the block. Alright guys, so we got the alternator, fan. This is the clutch for the fan to engage the fan. And then the water pump there. And so this will just get set in a pile that y'all don't see on the back porch, and once we get this motor cleaned up and everything, then we will put it all back together. There's still a lot to do. Still a lot to do with this old motor, but really I just wanted to get the weight off the front so it wasn't diving down. Anyways, got my motors inside. That's the Volkswagen motor. I'm going to probably pull it over here, and that way I can use that table to break this motor down. And I'm going to run a compression test on this motor and make sure everything's testing good. Then I'll clean the whole block up. We'll paint it really nice. put new. The distributor cap's busted. The top of it is, so it needs a new cap cover. Everything else should be fine with it, I think. It has no carburetor because I sold it off of here. But yeah, we'll clean it up, get it painted really nice, turn it over, make sure there's no problems. As long as all the compression and everything's good, then we'll just get it painted up and slap it back together, and we'll just have an extra motor. So the 400's coming soon. I've got to put a little bit of money in that right now. I don't have it, so it's gonna take a little bit of time, but that's gonna be a really cool motor. So alright guys, well, I pulled the spark plug just to see, and I know who had this motor. I obviously bought the motor, so I know who had it before, and I know that he just did a lot of tune-up stuff. You know, he just put it in a truck and he just wasn't happy with it. But anyway, I've had it sitting outside without a carburetor, and I just turned it over and I could hear the whole cylinder just full of fluid, and I felt it compressed to the top of the cylinder. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull all these spark plugs right now, just to help relieve this. And I'm gonna spray some PB Blaster down inside of these, and I should have did that in the first place. I was just tampering around just because my motor's finally inside, you know. But Lord have mercy. Alright, I'm going to finish turning over this motor and see if we can let some of that fluid out. Just take that distributor cap off there just so it's not hitting the rotor. Hey, there's some fluid. Coming out of number one now. I'm just going to cycle through the whole motor. I reckon I should probably pull the plugs on the other side too. I brought this towel out because I was expecting there to be some water still in the motor where it was supposed to be, and there wasn't. But there is water where there's not supposed to be. So let's get rid of that. The spark plug wrench has a little rubber thing in there, and it's not taking the spark plug very well. There it is. Because I didn't say already, the stamp on this motor is 3970010, which I actually already looked up, and there was a 305 option for this year for 69, but most of them were 350s. Anyway, let's run through this cycle one more time. Now that I've got all the plugs out. It's probably going to leak out both sides. There's not supposed to be anything coming out of these holes. That was mud. Or at least rusty water. Yeah. Yep. This is why I wanted my motors inside. Okay, we turned the motor all the way around. It's filthy. It's made my floor filthy. Anyway, I shouldn't have did all that. I should have went to sleep, but I got to tinkering and then I had to show y'all. So the next time you see us, we will do a compression test. We'll put the spark plugs back in. We'll compression test each cylinder one by one. Make sure that it's holding compression, because if it's not, we'll have to tear the motor down even more and actually rebuild it. So hopefully it's still a good motor inside of there. I'm not too worried about the water. I know I said it's not supposed to be in there, and it's not supposed to be in there, but we're gonna put some rust killer in there, and that's the combustion chamber. So there's fuel and fire, thousands of revolutions a minute happening inside of there. So it's gonna clean out the chambers. It is a good thing that we got it out of there now. Like I said, I'm gonna spray some rust stuff in there, and then before we put the spark plugs back in, we'll turn it over again and get all that stuff out of there. Then we'll put the spark plugs in every hole except that one, and we'll compression test all the way around the motor. And hopefully it's a good motor. Then we can just clean it up, paint it up, put it back together. I got my motors inside. So also my yard's done. So I'll show you guys that video next. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good night. Say good night, puppy. Good night, guys.